Shirangaihi Sushrupadum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitanyadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vrutashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarsho arishtanemihi Swasti no brahaspatir dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The verse was talking about that the person, there are as though two birds, the one who comes to know that this is mantra 2, okay? So one who is only with the first bird, which is what the body and mind is suffering, and then when one recognizes the other one, and which is the other one? Consciousness, and then what consciousness, as Ishvara manifesting everything, who is the Lord of all, knows this is glory and becomes free from the grief. Yeah. So that means by knowing the second bird, it's not like, as Amba, it's very nice that you pointed out that we are not actually talking about two as such. What we are doing is, we are saying, once you know the second one, you know what? Huh? You know what? Excellent. Right? Because, where is it?
Oh, it's here, you have the tree and then...
Where?
The tree in the middle, and then you have the individual and then the mind.
Okay, I must have. Well, I got tree. No.
What are you doing?
That's a good question. What am I looking for is the two birds. Have I drawn two birds?
No.
Here, body, mind.
Ah, here.
Where?
On top.
Body, mind.
No, where's the other one?
I think you just said the tree.
The tree. Okay, the tree has two. Yeah, here. No, not
Only the tree.
only the tree. Then I went to something else. Okay. So now, the two birds, by knowing the second, as Bio says, you actually know the whole, right? So that means it starts with a tree. Matthias, just for your information, yesterday your question was, what stands for the tree? And there are two things which can stand for the tree. Either, if you look at the individual, it is what the body on which the mind rests, and as though there is what the one thing which is a mind, which is going through pleasure and pain, and the other thing is as though consciousness, right? It starts, see, because it's not that the consciousness is only located here, it's everywhere, but for you, the only place, which is what we call Upalabdhi Sthanam, where you will find consciousness, is where in your buddhi as self-revealing eye. Then Vedanta shows that it is all pervasive and it is without any attributes, right? So therefore, this consciousness, so if your eye is here, then there is pain and suffering. If you move to this second bird, what happens?
No more pain.
No more?
Pain.
No more pain. And why is there no more pain? Because the whole universe collapses in this consciousness, right? Because we took the body and we took the, remember what we did? We took the body and it ends up in consciousness. Now, you take the mind, just I will do one more time and then we will go on. The mind itself is what? Mithya. All these different types of thoughts that you thought about, whether it was your emotional thought, whether it is your cognitive thought, whether it is the thought related to memory, or it is thought related to I, what is the real content of that thought, without which the thought is like, let's say, the emotional thought. It's like a bangle. What is the content of thought? The emotional thought is, I'm happy. Let's not always make sad, angry and all. Let's for a change, I'm happy, right? I'm laughing, whatever, right? So I'm happy. So the content, that's a form of a thought which is a different thought from, oh, I'm satisfied now, right? There are two different thoughts. So the thought is, I am happy. What is the content of that thought, without which the thought which is, I am happy, cannot take place?
Consciousness.
Exactly. Right? So the consciousness is the content, and then what is the form in this case?
I'm happy.
I'm happy. Wonderful. Right? Now the form can change, but the content cannot. None of the thoughts can exist without its content, which is consciousness. So while the thought cannot exist without consciousness, consciousness is free from being the thought. Exactly. Right? The thought, a given thought, doesn't stick to consciousness. Otherwise what will happen is, one time that you think of a tree, it will be stuck to you forever because it got stuck to your consciousness, right? So that is why the very fact that you are able to have a next thought and completely given the other thought, it shows that it doesn't get stuck to consciousness.
Like the Coke doesn't.
Sorry?
Like the Coke doesn't stick to the space.
Exactly, exactly. The cookie space is gone, right? Wonderful. See, Yuta is very clever, you figured out. Wonderful. That's true, right? So it's perfect. It seems as though while pouring in the glass the Coke, I'm making the space cookie, but I'm not, right? Wonderful. So that means by doing this, so that means body is mithya, mind and its different forms are mithya. It doesn't mean that they are illusion, it just means that they are not empirically true, but they entirely depend upon consciousness, and consciousness is independently existing of each of these thoughts. Okay? So by knowing this consciousness, why is the person free from pain? Because by knowing, as Vio says, the whole universe is gained. Right? Because there is only one independent reality in this universe, and that is consciousness, and everything else depends upon that. Okay? So this is why the person is free now. Now, just before I move to the next verse, I'm obliged because at the end of the class, Tulya came and she had this ingenious, I was very happy with what she drew, and she had the whole representation, which is brilliant. But what I want to, because in that question there was something which I realized I did not clarify. So it was my lack of clarification, right? So I have to clarify. So so right now, okay, let me go back. Oh yeah, okay, let me do this here. This is a good place to do it. Okay, so that means in this Ishvara, all knowledge and all power, which is with reference to manifest universe, what we saw is what right now, as we saw, it's not a fixed universe, it's a constant flux, right? So right now, this moment is manifest, and the next one is
Potential.
potential. Superb. Right? Now, because this is potential which will manifest at the given appointed time, can we call this potential Maya?
Yeah.
Exactly, because ultimately it's both, but technically we don't say it like that, right? When the whole universe is manifest, it's constantly from manifest to unmanifest, and it implies potential. But here, with reference to this manifest, you just call it Ishvara. Do you understand? When the entire universe is not yet manifest, then that potential has no real form, that time you call it Maya. Is it clear?
Yeah.
The potential belongs to both. Yeah? Here it is what we call its manifestation of Ishvara itself, and here it is called Maya. Yeah? So that was, and I think that was referring to, I think Christoph once asked that question, no, about causal. Did you ask that question about causal? It was a similar question. Do you realize that? So that means the causal, which is like, which can manifest something 100 years from now, is within Ishvara. Right? But the causal, which is what? Suppose the universe collapses, and all the causes which are stored in all knowledge and all power, they are where? Maya. Right? So the causal kind of little bit overlaps.
That's with the cycles.
Right? It's with the cycles. And this is how, same, similar question. Potential also is at both levels. Yeah?
But that sounds as if Maya was not active in this existing universe, but it is.
It is, exactly.
And in
So,
which way?
absolutely, potential is, but what happens is, because it is all knowledge and all power anyway, you, at this level, when the universe is manifest, that potential is within Ishvara. You see what I mean? It's true, potential are at both levels, but here, because the universe is manifest, next moment is going to come into manifestation, which is not now manifest, so it is still considered within
So the
Ishvara.
universe is coming into manifestation and collapsing
The
even
entire-
now, all the time.
Uh,
Or not.
Not, I mean, right now it's not entirely collapsing. It's like, you know, while the dream is going on, the things are constantly changing, right? As Surya explained, you went to cafe, so that means you were at X place and now you are in another place, so there is change. Then you order a coffee and croissant, so that also changes. Then you drink it, then also it changes. So it's constantly changing, right? But it's still, it is within the manifest universe.
But it's not collapsing between the moments.
Yeah, in some ways the
In
moments
some way.
are changing, no? Because from before you were not in cafe, now you are in cafe, so it has changed in some ways, right? Then before you had not drunk coffee, now you have drunk it, so it is changing, right? But then suppose you wake up from the dream, and then that is called what? Total resolution of the dream. Do you understand? So there are two things here. Within the dream, lot of changes that are taking place. The previous moment is gone. The new moment is born. Right? The new moment is gone. The next moment is born. The dream world itself is something which is changing. This is why we call Ishvara as what? Pravaha Nityatvam. It's not a fixed entity. Okay? But the whole dream manifestation itself can go, and you can, so with reference to tonight's dream, it's still in potential, completely in potential. Is that right? Is it clear? Yeah.
Does that mean that we would use the term Maya only in respect to creation? I mean,
Yeah, generally.
so once the universe is manifest, we wouldn't
We wouldn't call it. Exactly. So that's a normal way of looking at it, right? Even though it refers to the same thing, all knowledge and all power, but absolutely right. So that means before creation, you can't say this is Ishvara, because you can't say it's a cause of creation, it's still in potential. So that's when you would term it Maya. Within creation, you would call it Ishvara. Yeah, that is accurate. And as I told in the previous class, sometimes the Upanishads also change the way they present this, and they also say Ishvara with its Maya kind of, manifests the universe. But it actually doesn't mean there is one Ishvara, then there is Maya, and then he manifests the universe. It actually means all knowledge and all power is all there is. When it is potential, you give it a name Maya before creation, and while it is creation, you call it Ishvara. Absolutely, cause of the universe. Okay.
Can you say then that when this universe collapses, that then Maya will be there again?
So, I mean, yeah, see, yeah, exactly. All knowledge and all power is always there. Please understand, right? So, because there is no longer the universe, you can't call that, oh, this all knowledge and all power is the cause of the universe, because the whole universe has collapsed. So you say it's now the knowledge and power is still there, but it's in its potential form. It's not like Ishvara dies and Maya comes into being. Please don't think like that, right? So it's all just a name. It's all name for all knowledge and all power. Do you understand? It's like sander right now is what carrying the potential to a dream. While the sander creates dream world, manifest dream world, sander itself, himself becomes what? The cause of the dream. After the dream goes, sander still remains and he still carries what? The potential to dream the next night. Do you understand?
So the potential dream in Sander is called Maya.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I would put it a little bit differently to simplify. There is all knowledge and all power. Okay? Now, there is, with reference to a universe which is manifest, you call this all knowledge power Ishvara. When the universe is not manifest, there is no more time, space, nothing is happening. There is undifferentiated universe. Then you call this all knowledge power Maya. But at the end, it's just a question with reference to resolution or manifestation of the universe. All knowledge and all power is, this is what it is in fact. Just matter of name, don't be like stuck on the name. We are just introducing to just refine your understanding by showing this all knowledge from two different standpoints, that's all.
But the reason why I raised this question is because Turiya asked that unmanifest also is at two levels. The next moment while the universe is going on is also unmanifest. Do you see that?
Yes.
This is why.
Yeah.
So that's why the difficulty comes. So and the unmanifest is also when the entire universe collapses.
Yeah.
So these two unmanifest, then so
Then
you
you have
say,
to use two names.
So that exactly. So they say that
And three
that unmanifest which is within the universe, is it called Maya or Ishvara? That is the question, right? So within the universe, it's called Ishvara. Yeah. Is it clear? Okay. I thought it was an extremely good question and it was very discerning. I thought I will clarify. I would not feel comfortable for myself if I did not clarify. Okay. Okay. Now, just a further reminding of what is this consciousness. So again, some mantras. Bruhacha tat divyam achintya rupam sukshmacha tat sukshmataram vibhati durat sudure tat ahantikecha pashyati iha eva nihitam guhana. Okay, so further, so that means this consciousness that you have arrived at by looking at what the second bird, they want to make sure that you don't think that there is one bird and then there is another bird, right? How Amba was asking. So it is making sure that you understand that this second bird which is not getting engaged is not just one little thing. It is what? Bruhat. It is inside, it is huge, it is limitless. Bruhat, we saw the word Brahman comes from the same root. So right, so this second one that the second bird is not just one of the birds, it is what? It is Bruhat, it is limitlessly big. Okay, then it is Divyam. Divyam. Divyam means, what is the meaning of Divyam here, what is the translation? This is Swamiji's book, right? So it is what we call, it is, pure consciousness. So that means, what does pure consciousness mean? It seems like an adjective to consciousness, right?
Yeah.
See, this is the difficulty of language, right? There is one which is impure consciousness and the other one which is pure consciousness. This is the limitation. If you look at Swamiji's books, this limitation remains. So what it means is what?
No attributes.
Exactly. Excellent. So this has no attributes. And this one, why is it limitlessly big? Because it's not just one thing, it includes everything. Everything else is nitya. That's why it is limitlessly big. Yeah? And then this is what, it itself has no attributes. Is it clear? Yeah. Okay. Then it is achintya rupam. Achintya rupam means it is what? It is something which is not available for a thought. Where is our Timur? Timur! Oh, I was searching for you. Okay. Because Achintya Rupam is a good place for me to explain about what? The experience. Right? This is a good time to explain. So that means it is not an object. What here the way it is saying is, it's not available for a thought. So that means it's not an object. This consciousness is not an object of thought. What it means is that now, okay, suppose I say the next thought which comes to your mind, right, and that thought is that of little bigness, right? Now you are studying Upanishad and it's revealing what is the nature of Atma, and I'm explaining to you, oh, it is limitlessly big. So there is a thought, there is a corresponding thought which occurs in your mind, and that is what?
And small.
Something which is big, right? So when you think about big, right, is it called, then you say, oh, I know consciousness now. I think this is what Clementina's question was, right? This is what she was asking in the morning, right? So now you have, when you think of a big, generally what does your mind do?
Try to give it a shape or
A limit.
a limit, yeah.
Right? So that means you think of a big expanse. You see, when you think of, oh, limitlessly big means what? Oh, there is some big expanse here. Is that representation of what consciousness is? No. Why? Because it is what? It was in the past. It will be in the future. It is something which does not undergo change. So the thought of big expanse is not a representation of consciousness. You have to recognize that. Otherwise you think that you always have to have this sense of expanse and you have to constantly keep that expanse, and then you are established in consciousness. Big mistake, right? Because we are not talking about big expanse. Is that right? Okay. Because this big expanse, please understand, why is it not the true nature of consciousness?
It's also like time, isn't it? Big expanse.
Excellent. This thought of big expanse began in time. Sterling, you guys are too clever. Wonderful. Okay. So it began in time. So this big expanse was not there. How old is the universe? Tell me. 13 billion?
Yeah.
13 billion years of universe, and till then this big expanse thought was not there. Now it has begun for you. Can you call it limitless? What is the definition of consciousness? Nityam. What is nityam? It survives
Time and space.
time and space. Are you able to think of one given thing right now which survives time and space?
No.
No. So Clementina, wonderful. Now when you came back to me and you tried to explain to me, I understood what you were saying. Yeah. So therefore, nobody can capture what limitlessness in
the form.
a form.
Yeah.
And also, exactly,
In the form.
in a thought. Excellent.
So it's not grabbable by thinking.
Exactly. And this is
Right.
exactly what is said. So that means you can't capture limitlessness as a, the thought, as one kind of an expanse. Right? So then, how will you ever know the existence, how will you ever know the true nature of consciousness? The good news is, what does Upanishad say? It is not a result of only one thought. It is something which is what? Truth of
Every thought.
every thought. So that means the very fact that you are able to see this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thoughts since your birth is because of the presence of consciousness. Right? It's a completely different ballgame. So therefore, just because you had some vision of expansion, oh, I know Brahman now. Not true. Right? Your mind tried to capture this big and it created some big picture. So therefore, it can only, and what you also need to understand is, the mind with which I have thought everything, the mind itself will go, and what will still remain is what?
Consciousness.
Excellent. Excellent. So that means the forms are constantly changing. They are arising, they are sustained, and they are destroyed. But there is one unchanging reality which gets never displaced by the time, space, and objects is what? Consciousness. And how will this knowledge take place? When you use the words of Upanishads carefully and begin to understand what they mean, this knowledge is crystal clear. Do you understand that? So therefore, any thought by definition begins in time. Any experience begins in time. And it also ends in time. By some miracle, if you are able to sustain this experience till you live, how long is your life in the countless flow of time? Insignificant. Please don't even, right? So just think a little bit, right? Vedanta means it requires a little smartness, right? I mean, little smartness you have to have. So therefore, right, suppose you succeed to keep the now, at the age of 50, you had this expanse feeling, and you're really trying hard, so you're able to keep it till you die, which is 80 years old. So for 30 years, you get this feeling of expanse. Is it called limitlessness? No. Understand that. 30 years is not called limitlessness. Simple. Right? So that means what you need to know is time can manifest. Space can manifest, within which all the different objects can manifest, and so many different interactions can take place. The time, space, and objects themselves collapse into potential. Then they again come into being, right? And there is a cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles of creation. Through all of this, what doesn't change is consciousness. That is called knowledge. So that means what you need to understand is, hey, while the thoughts are changing, and they will change, one thing which never changes, even you can't make it change, right? Nobody can make it change. and therefore it is what we call the unchanging reality, and everything else what depends upon it. And how did we arrive at everything else depends upon it? By using the Upanishads and seeing the relationship of consciousness with everything else. Do you understand? And when your mind puts every piece together at the right place and sees clearly what Upanishad is talking about, that is called what? Knowledge. So this is why if you begin to think that by a thought, which is a thought of expanse, when you create that, you will understand what the consciousness, Upanishad wants to make it very clear, it is not an object of thought. Okay?
Can I ask a
So,
question?
yes, please.
If you say it's not available for thought, I get the whole
Yes,
reasoning,
yes.
but still it is present in the buddhi.
Exactly.
But then the buddhi is that which makes thinking possible, right?
So that means right now it is available in your buddhi. This is why you need a human buddhi. See, consciousness is always there. You need a human mind to come to know what your true nature is. So buddhi solves the problem, right? But the buddhi doesn't solve the problem like how Clementina was saying, by trying to create some experience. The buddhi tries to solve the problem by listening to Upanishads, trying to understand what it is talking about, and at one point, right, what is understood by the buddhi is exactly in keeping with what the Upanishads are talking about. That is called knowledge. There is no deviation. There is no gap between what the Upanishads and teacher is talking about and what you have understood. And that is called knowledge. Until that buddhi has exact correspondence, it's not called knowledge. Because you are still projecting it, you are still adding your own things, you are still not seeing some realities. Yeah? That's called knowledge. Yeah. Okay? So therefore, this is why, Christoph, this exact understanding is so important. Each part, if you don't understand exactly, how will the whole picture be clear? It's like somewhere it will go off, right?
You keep on thinking.
You keep on, exactly. Yes.
Why is it present in the buddhi and not in the ahamkara, for example?
Yeah, it's true. Like in the, okay, that's good. Because who is doing this figuring out work? You know.
So that's why it is.
So that's why. That's why it is said. Otherwise it's everywhere actually. But what they say, your buddhi is the upalabdhi sthana. Upalabdhi sthana means there is only one place where it is immediately available to you as self-revealing I. And which is in your mind, but specifically in your buddhi, because what are you using in Vedanta class? Your buddhi, right? So the buddhi has to exactly create what the understanding as it is meant by the Upanishads. Yeah, there is no deviation. Until then, your buddhi is constantly creating images, but they don't totally correspond to what the reality is. That's why we don't call it knowledge. Yeah, even though there is a growing clarity. Growing clarity means, suppose you first time come to Vedanta class, you understand 3%, suppose, right? Or sometimes you even I tell you, if I think about the first class I listened to of Swamiji, I may have understood not even 1%, right? So I'm actually surprised how quickly you guys understand. It took me much longer to understand all of this, that you guys are understanding very fast. So, I got 1%, but even that 1% was what? Useful at that time for me to what? Make that little change in my life and that little shift. Now, next time I listen to Swamiji, what happened? Because of that little shift, what happened? My ability to what? I mean, the only thing I understood is, yeah, he's talking something about clay and pot. And I didn't quite know what it was, right? I mean, that's okay. I was 22, come on. So therefore that stayed, and then I said, oh yeah, it's interesting, right? But I mean, the rest of the thing about Ishvara and all, nothing came in, right? I just like 1, 2 things remained, right? But it got me thinking a little bit. So this is how it is, right? So that means, but the next time, this is why your personal efforts matter a lot, right? So the next time, if you have made little, just little reflection, little thinking, no matter what it is, right? Then next time it helps. But what happens is, the intention when you are sitting in the class, right? When I'm teaching Mundaka Upanishad, you don't think about Chandogya Upanishad. You just pay attention here, right? Right? So because what happens is each steps are important. So therefore, and that little wanting to pay attention is important. Wanting to know is important. Right? And really what you want to keep telling yourself is, it's nothing about what I think, it's about knowing what is really. You are not here to show off, no matter how smart you are, you are not here to show off what you know, you are here to learn what is. Right? So you come with a slightly, when you come with that attitude, it's interesting how much you can absorb. Sometimes the quietest people in the class can absorb a lot. Right? So generally, now I want to tell you guys one thing, which is a nice lesson. Right? In an interactive session like this, there are always people who are more vocal, asking more questions and more kind of answering questions and everything. And it seems as though they understand a lot more. And the others, sometimes you are sitting quietly and you say, oh, I'm really dumb, I don't understand anything. Right? But it's not true. I want to give you an example, which is, I will never forget this example in my life, and I mean it. While we were studying, we had, like a classroom situation, and then we had satsang where we could ask Swamiji as many questions as we want, and then we had Sanskrit classes. So it becomes pretty clear, in any group, right? People always form these opinions that these people are really smart because they are able to answer questions in Sanskrit, they are able to get things, and they are able to ask really discerning things. So everybody forms an impression who's smart and there are always people who feel that, these people are like, okay, right? I mean, in any group that happens. So even in our group that always naturally happens, and some people started thinking that we are really cool, right? And that, by the way, included me too. Right? Now what I want to say is, really there are life lessons. And then we had gone to Rishikesh, and in Rishikesh there was Shivratri. On Shivratri day, it's fun in Rishikesh because all the different ashrams, they have whole night Om Namah Shivaya Japa. So they do this Japa. Surya, you are making them do Japa, Ishaya Namaha. Yes. So they do this Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya all night. And in our night, in our ashram, because there is a class next day, we only do from morning to evening and night is free. So some of our students, we said, okay, let's go to other ashrams and see what's going on, because there is this whole big Om Namah Shivaya going on. So we started walking, in Rishikesh, and we were going from one ashram to the other and saw how everybody is doing this Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And we reached Lakshman Jhula, and some of you have been to Rishikesh. We reached Lakshman Jhula, and among us, there were 4 or 5 of us, and one of them, who everybody thought was like, not so smart, he was like really, nobody took him seriously, right? Now, as we reached Lakshman Jhula, what happened is that there was this group of lepers. Leper, people who have leprosy. So they look, they have sometimes no arms. I mean, it's really difficult to see them. It's not easy to see them, and they are like in the slums, yeah. And they are slums, and they are like there, and all of them, as we were walking, they came to this guy that nobody was taking seriously. And they all started falling on his feet. So we were all surprised and we said like, what? So we said like, then we asked them like, why? And what these lepers told us, I will never forget in my life. So the lepers said that this man, that nobody was taking seriously, he hardly ever could answer anything in the class. He said he stayed for 1 year in Rishikesh and he served them. And I asked myself, am I capable of doing that? That time, my bubble burst. Be normal. It's a very humbling experience. Right? So that means, hey, the preparation for Vedanta, yes, your cognitive skills are important. Right? But that's not the only preparation. Outside the classroom, how you live your life, what you do, what are your attitudes, how you are considerate, it makes all the difference in the world. Really. Yes, I don't want to depreciate the importance of cognitive skills. They are required, but equally are required what human skills. Equally. Don't undermine them. Right? So therefore, these human skills are just so critical. This is how you gain grace of Ishvara. That you can come and 1 year serve these people who are even hard to look at. It requires some level of compassion, it requires some level of engagement, which is not ordinary, it's extraordinary. Right? So therefore, that's when I started seeing who's more prepared, who's the vision of Ishvara is vast. So therefore, this classroom also I want you all to know that preparation for Vedanta has many, many different aspects. Right? So therefore, Surya always used to say, who is the person who's prepared for Vedanta? He had a nice definition. Surya, you remember your definition? Okay, say. I say. Oh. So Surya said, the person has to have a sharp mind, right? A reasonably sharp mind, but he is a scientist or like a scientist. Right? A sharp cognitive skills, because it does require you to figure out a few things. But the person also has to have emotional maturity. Right? So that means how much are you in touch with your emotions, how they flow, all this is critical, which will prepare you for this knowledge. The third thing what he used to say is that you have to be creative. Why? Because sometimes you have a very cognitive mind, but what happens, you just only are interested in details and you forget what, you stop thinking out of the box. Linear thinking. Logical thinking, the way we are taught in the school is what? Linear thinking. But that way you don't get to Brahman, limitless. So
that's what I was saying, an artist or a poet, this kind of mind. The mind of an artist.
So which is able to think out of the box, right? Not just this linear, rational, cognitive, that is important, but you also need a person who is able to think out of the box, creative. Then you want emotionally mature, and then what he used to say is a saintly person. What is the difference between emotionally mature and a saintly person?
Someone that will help others as well.
Exactly.
Someone that will help others as well.
Right? Emotionally mature means I'm pretty much in my kind of, I have taken care of my fears, I've taken care of my anger, I've taken care of my image issues, all of this I've taken care of. But saintly means there is compassion, there is connection, all the things that Kurt was talking about on the first day. So that means preparation for Vedanta is another ball game. And therefore, you have life to prepare yourself. You go back, now the day, the retreat is coming to an end, tomorrow. My God. Right? So you have to go back there and you have to change the way you live your life. Right? So that means your normal stories, normal things of what you tell yourself, they have to change. Right? Not with pseudo-Vedanta language. Right? But really, you have to become big, you have to become expand, proper attitudes, the emotional, all the taking care of these emotional, whatever burdens that you are carrying, all of this has to happen. So therefore, this is what we call a person who is adhikari for knowledge. Adhikari means the person who is eligible. Now, all of us can become eligible for knowledge. It's not like, then don't think, oh my God, I'm not at all. All of you can become, already you all are great. I really am telling you, and there's truth. Right? So that means, now see, the problem happens, which is a very common problem. Somebody who is good at cognitive, they will only concentrate on one thing, cognitive. And they'll ignore what this emotional stuff is, forget it, right? That is all this wishy-washy. And those who are emotional, they only will concentrate on what? Oh yeah, let me take care of my emotional growth. So what happens is, you already start with advantage in one area, but you only keep concentrating and growing in that and you ignore the others. Actually what you need to do is what? Expand. Exactly. Right? Yes, I'm good with my cognitive things, I have to expand in my emotional. Suppose I come with an emotional intelligence, that's also not enough. You need to work on your cognitive skills. Right? So the growth means that it's multidimensional. It's not just one thing. This is why you need life experiences which will teach you in so many different ways. Right? So this is how you need to now make use of your life. Right? And not from morning to night only, I want to listen to Vedanta. Right? So, you have to do that. So therefore, this is what will give you this person who is free, and it is Nihitam Guhaya. This person, now, Sukshma Cha, so experience is clear, every experience has a beginning.
That's clear. The question is that sometimes there's a sense that knowledge is somehow removed from experience. That we focus on knowledge, experience, we sort of almost deny or repress, kind of Vedantic speech. So
what we are saying is, that's a very good thing. Timur, what you are saying is, see, a mind, can it stop experiences? No, it is going to have experiences. So you see, mind and consciousness is like this right now. What is mind equivalent to mind in this example? Bangle. And what is consciousness? Goat. So you can't remove, right? The nature of mind is to have experiences. You can't remove. You can't say you will understand consciousness when you have no experience. That is ridiculous, because the mind and consciousness are, this is why we all make mistake. The only thing that you need to know is the experiences belong to the mind, and consciousness is because of which all the experiences of mind are known to me. It's not a specific experience. It's because of which all the different experiences are possible. It is present when I think I'm small. It is also present when I think I'm happy. It is also present when I think it's present in all experiences. It's not like it's not experienced. Do you understand that? It's because of which all experiences take place. It can't be removed from experiences, but it's not a given experience. Do you understand? So that means the Upanishads talk about it as pratibodha viditam matam. You can't know it as a given thing, like Clementina was saying, but it is that which is there in every experience, without which no experience is possible.
And the clear knowledge also does have an effect in experience, right? So it's not the clear knowledge, let's say you understand that consciousness and everything is nitya and satya, but that has a very clear effect on experience as well, right? Like on the life in a way, you know?
On the life, no. Okay, the life, what decides what kind of experiences you have in life? See, you have to be clear, Timur. Otherwise, what will happen is the mix-up will continue. What enables the experiences? The mind. I mean, right now the mind goes through experiences, right? Now, you have already prepared the mind before the knowledge took place. So already your experiences are what? Changing, right? This is what I am telling you, that now when you go, you have to start living differently. As you start living differently, already your experiences are changing, no? How you relate to people, how you feel about yourself, then you take care of your emotions, what happens, you feel certain freedom. It's already happening. It's not like right now everything is what it is and all of a sudden some magic will happen and every experience will change. It's not like that. Okay? So in fact, in order to prepare the mind, you have already changed your experiences in certain ways, because by dealing with these things, you have changed the nature of your mind. As I told Dara, right? That the mind and its different functions, the emotions are not in place, the cognitive capacities are not in place, the memories are all not sharp, and the unconscious is ruling, and self-image is poor. This mind has to change before knowledge takes place. And because this mind changes before knowledge takes place, your experiences will already change before knowledge takes place. Right? So that means once the knowledge has taken place, obviously already the quality of mind is already far superior to others as you have started cleaning up things. This is what we call self-growth. Right? Then obviously with the complete clarity of knowledge, there is an additional kind of the main fundamental problem is also solved. That means what Upanishads say, what is knowledge? When Upanishads say is exactly understood, exactly as it is. There is no slight debate, that is called knowledge.
And that means...
That mind, that is why what Stefan was saying. Who understands it? Where is it understood? Buddhi. Which part? It is Buddhi.
And that means that because it is also said that this brings the complete fulfillment or completeness, that means that it, in other words, removes whatever sense of smallness or kind of incompleteness would have been there without the knowledge, so to say.
Yeah. It's true. It removes incompleteness, because suppose you have really understood the nature of I, really understood the nature of I as consciousness. Where is the incompleteness?
Definitely. No more.
It's no more.
But it's not an experience. You cannot
Exactly.
have it as an experience.
Now, the problem is, see, I tell you where the mix-up happens. I know where the mix-up happens. Because this has never had any problem. This is completely free from problem. You want a mind which is always free from problem.
Yeah.
So, what does it imply? Where is your I? You are still continuing some identification with the mind, right? So that means, what is the nature of I? You want to recreate at the level of mind.
It's just
Big
an indicator
problem.
for yourself.
Big catch.
Yeah.
That means the superimposition continues. Do you understand?
But the way around.
The other way around, exactly. That's why Vedanta is subtle, susukshma, subtle, right? Yeah.
I wanted just to say, because it's a common like confusion, I think so. You don't get more conscious, you get less ignorant. So
yeah, exactly. You remove your ignorance. Wonderful. Exactly. Actually, this is why
you
it's
can't
true.
get more conscious, but
No.
people are always saying he lives a conscious life, or he's
Yeah.
so conscious person.
Yeah.
So it's like a common mistake.
Clementina, because when they say that, they are generally not Vedantin. See, the word conscious also has another meaning, which is what I'm more conscious of environmental implication of my action. It has that meaning also.
The direct.
That means how much aware are you of different issues? How are you conscious of the fact that this is going to have unseen consequences? These are, right? So it has a different meaning, and people use it in that sense. That's why, if you remember, that you have to use the words that are in the language, but you have to actively take out these limitations. Because here, the consciousness is not used in that sense.
But I mean that in your experiences, you're not more conscious. You are just less ignorant.
Exactly. So the whole operation, in fact, as Clementina is saying, that you are not trying to experience the whole of consciousness, because it is timeless. Even after the manifestation, the consciousness will remain, and any form that you have will go. So you're not trying to experience consciousness, but you are trying to remove the ignorance. That is true. The whole operation is removing ignorance rather than kind of experiencing consciousness. Perfect. Absolutely true.
And the effect of this removal of ignorance at the experiential level would be there's maybe no change, but on the attitude towards experience, towards
Excellent. Right? That has to be understood. Right? The attitudes change. What you understand changes completely. You can never be the same person again. Doesn't mean, this is why I spend so much time. See, when I give classes, listen a little bit. I talked about that this mind is what, are you going to be totally able to delete your fears? No, I spent a lot of time explaining that.
It makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Because these are like, this is how the mind is built. It must have fear for self-preservation. Don't think that this person, actually then it will become like a person who is with Alzheimer, who's lost contact with some normal sensations and mechanisms. It's forgotten everything. Is this how the wise person sounds to you?
No.
Hopefully not. Right?
The mind becomes objective.
Huh?
The mind becomes objective.
Yeah,
Not subjective, but objective in seeing things.
And seeing things, right? You see things as they are and you respond naturally, right? So this is what is called for in that given situation, right? And your own subjectivities begin to be. Obviously, even before knowledge takes place, you actually have to reduce it to significantly. Right? So
therefore, a wise person is just a person that knows his true nature. That's it.
That's it. The only definition, this is so true, Tobia. Arjuna asks Lord Krishna a question. How does this wise person behave? How does he, conduct himself? And the Lord Krishna told him, the only definition of a real wise person is what? The person who is not confused about what is what. That is the real definition. After that, everything is just an indication, what the attitudes, what are the attitudes with which he is going to live. These are all with reference to what?
Mind.
Right? Which indicates what kind of mind you need to know. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So therefore, this is the person. Now, so that means this person, Pashyati, and that is what, now, the next, okay. Next we have, okay. Na chakshusha gruhyate. See, it keeps reminding you again and again and again, because we know that how the human orientation cannot be given up, right? Na chakshusha gruhyate. You can't see it, then na api vacha, right? So now I'm sure Stefan is going to ask me this question. It's also so now what? That it's not even going to be perceived by what? Not revealed by words. Oh my God.
The whole teaching collapses.
The whole teaching. Oh God, we are in another problem again. Right. So that means no words can get you to this limitlessness. What does it mean? Then why are we using so many words?
They are pointers, like pointing into the...
Excellent. Right? So this is why, that's why we say these words, I had explained two things. These words are meant in a very specific, they are organized in a very specific manner to make you see your own truth. Now, every word, by definition, we have to use language, right? And the language can only be known language. It cannot be unknown language, right? And every language has only what? Limited. The words which mean only what? Limited things. Yes, every language also has one word called limitless. But suppose I use that word and tell you you're limitless, and that's all. What will you understand? Nothing. So therefore, I need to use other words to show you how it is so, and all other words are limited. Right? So I'm constrained to use limited words to show you something which is free from limitation. How do I do it? How does the whole teaching methodology do it? The words, as we have seen earlier, have two meanings. What are the two meanings?
Direct and implied.
Excellent. One is the direct meaning, which is called Vachyartha in Sanskrit. Vachyartha. And there is implied meaning, which is what we call Lakshyartha. Very good, Sandra. Okay? It's called implied meaning. So therefore, we are constrained to use, let's say, one word, and the first thought which will come to your mind is what? About the direct meaning, right? Now, the teacher has to do one more operation and say, yeah, this direct meaning of this word is this, but here, what is implied is this. So this is why not only you have to use the words, you have to use them very specifically. This is the job of a teacher and also of a student. There was one student who used to come to my class, and he was a professor university. And for everything that I said, he opened a dictionary. And he said, oh yeah, but the dictionary meaning of this is this. So I said, hey, why don't you sit at home and study everything with dictionary meaning? Right? So what happens is, hey, these words have to, yeah, there is a dictionary meaning. If dictionary meaning was sufficient, all of you would, everyone would know the nature of I. Just read one Upanishad and you will know the nature of I. Now, after I have taught you, just do one exercise. Just read the translations of this Mundaka Upanishad, and without what I taught you, see what you would have understood.
Especially if you read different translations.
And especially, right? I mean, even one translation you don't, and now suppose you are reading different translations, you are gone. So what you will walk out with, I don't know, right? And the words are actually really revealing the truth, but what you will understand is something totally different, right? So this is why this Lakshyartha, using the words appropriately to convey the meaning which are meant to be conveyed, to show this vision, is important. Okay, so it's not, what it says is, it's not the direct meaning of any word, and it is what the words need to be employed specifically with this methodology, and it's a leading methodology. Okay? So, na pi vachaha na anyat eva tapasa karmanava. Okay? Now it's saying only tapas, only self-discipline will give you this knowledge. No. So this verse shows everything which is necessary for knowledge, but at the same time not sufficient on its own. Right? So tapas that you do, any kind of mastery, any kind of discipline is useful, but by itself will not give you the knowledge of Atma. Okay? Now, in this tapas, last time we saw what the certain mastery over food. Today, just now, I want to talk about certain mastery over speech. Because so often, right, this speech in Upanishads, and sometimes they say this is a sense organ, this is an organ of action. And what is the presiding deity of this organ of action? Fire. It is fire. Fire, right? And why fire? Because
you can burn or you can lighten up.
Excellent, right? With speech is one thing, either you can really hurt somebody or you can show that person something. So that means how you use your speech, you have to, that tapas is a very, very important tapas. Because if in order for you to have accuracy in your speech, what has to precede? Clear thinking. You cannot speak clearly if you don't think clearly. It's impossible. Think about it. Right? So this is why sometimes, this is very interesting. Some people make things so complicated and you think, wow, they are so much more advanced. Because it sounds so complex, oh, I can't get it, so that person must be really intellectual. And somebody who's speaking with clarity, this is simple, this I can understand. So what is our mind creates an impression that what something which is very complicated is smart. It's smart, it's good, and something which is simple is what? Just the first step. It's actually exactly the opposite. Anybody who has understood anything clearly is able to explain things what? Simply. It doesn't need all these very big technical jargons, and it doesn't need some very big words and very complex things. There was a beautiful, I was reading a book on, there is a book called Life and Times of Einstein. Beautiful book. There's some other, a couple of books I have read. I was just fascinated. And one time he's recounting in that book. He said he came up with a formula, and then he said, this cannot be the truth. And then so somebody asked him why. It's not elegant enough. The mind of a genius, right? So that means his mind was sensitive. It said, hey, it's not like, if it is too complex and too seeming like, that means that that's a reflection of non-clarity. And actually speaking, for Vedanta, you need to make your mind less complex. It's used to such complexities. It is so too many things messed up and everything, put together and no clarity about what is what. So, and then within that some superimposition of knowledge and all. It's highly complex mind. The thought processes are not in their own place. So this is where you need to make it simple. Simple doesn't mean simpleton. It's not simpleton, right? It's an extremely clear mind, but then the extremely clear minds are able to explain things simply. And this is why many times people used to go to Swamiji and say, Swamiji, you're very simple, others are very advanced. You see what I mean? It's like, sometimes it's interesting. So, the Swamiji used to say, I'm not simple, I'm clear. Right? So therefore, it becomes all highly complex if you yourself haven't understood. And you must have seen teachers of math. I had teachers of math. They'll make everything so complex and I'm like, I'm so dumb, I don't get anything, right? But then somebody explains to you simply, you just get it like that. Rudra is smiling and saying yes. Right? So that is how it is. So therefore, what the vacha, that vak discipline is actually a very good discipline. The more you commit to speaking clearly, I tell you, over a period of time, your mind and its thought processes will become clear.
What is that called?
Vak tapas. Okay? So, karmana vak. So, karma by itself cannot also give you the knowledge. Karma on its own can only do what the people who had come to Berlin, what are the 4 things it can do? Clean. Karma, scope of karma for people who came to Berlin. Okay. Stefan, clean, karma can clean. So this, yesterday was Monday, so what everybody had to do, I was asking Tobias, what are you doing? You don't want to know. Because he was wearing gloves, I had to clean. Right? So the action is required, is capable of cleaning. What else?
Modify.
Modifying. What is an example of modifying?
Cooking.
Okay, exactly. Wonderful. So what the vegetables which were raw, you're adding little spices here and there, you're adding some oil, you're modifying the form, and that is wonderful. So the actions can modify. It can, what else it can do? Reach. Wonderful. So that means tomorrow, using whichever means, car, train, bus, whatever, you will reach wherever you have to go, right? So that karmas can help you to reach. And what is the final thing? One more. Stefan is looking at it. It can produce something. So that means the clay, the pot which was not there, through action you can produce it. Okay? So this is the scope of karma.
Is that not a form of modifying?
No, the vegetables are already there, you are just adding some spices. Right? Here it is producing. The pot which was not there, you are producing. Yeah, you are in some ways, but it's called production of something which was not yet there. Okay? Now, with reference to this Satyam, this Satchidananda Atma, do you need to clean it? No. Do you need to modify it from the small to being the whole? Do you need to reach it? It's over there and I have to just kind of reach it? No. And do you need to produce it? No. So that means karmas as such have no role in what, it's not a primary means for getting what the to nature of I. But karma are not useless because karma are what we call secondary means. Karmas are the performing action is a secondary means for getting to know this reality. Why? Because what requires cleaning? Tell me.
Our emotional
Excellent. Superb. So that means your emotional makeup requires a little bit of cleaning. What requires the modifying?
Our stories.
Your story. Our stories require a little bit of modification. Okay? What requires reaching? Reaching class. You have to be there to be able to hear it, right? So some effort is required to reach the place where the teaching is going on, right? And then what produce? What requires a production? Certain changes in attitude and certain, Ishvara, connection with Ishvara which you never had before. You see, all these things which you never had before, that needs to be cultivated. So that means just don't dismiss, because karma is not the primary means of knowledge, don't dismiss karma. This is what we say, when you begin to use karma for this purpose, it is given a specific name in Bhagavad Gita. What is it? Karma Yoga. Right? Karma Yoga is not what going and working somewhere for free in an ashram, right? It means using karma, right, for this purpose, without which the knowledge will not take place. So this is what we call Karma Yoga. Okay? So, now, na karmana va, then what is the primary means? Jnana prasade. So this is what he called Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha. So that means vishuddha sattvaha means what? The person who has used karma as a secondary means and what? As though what? Cleaned up the mind where the knowledge has to take place. Then what? Jnana prasadena. Jnana comes from whom?
From you.
Ishvara. Prasada means? Prasada, where does prasada come from?
Ishvara.
Ishvara. You know the term prasada? Has anybody been to India? Okay. Have you been to temple?
Yeah, the monkeys like the prasad.
Monkey too?
Yeah, the monkeys, you get the prasad like in form of like sugar or whatever, and then the monkeys just come immediately and just steal it.
Okay. Prasada is a technical term. I mean, it's a kind of a word which is, what does it mean, right? As Tonya say, what? Sugar, right?
Yeah, sugar.
Sugar. Now, why is sugar not called sugar, and why do you call it prasad? Yes. It is coming from, when the same sugar is coming, what? From the temple. When you go and buy in a local shop, it is called sugar. But suppose you go to the temple and suppose you go and see the deity and the priest give you that, it changes its name. The object remains
The same.
the same. It changes its name and it becomes prasada. And what does this prasada indicate? It is coming from Ishvara. You made an effort to go to the temple. You made an effort to what? There is a seen result which is the sugar. The unseen result is yet to come.
Diabetes.
Huh?
Diabetes.
But it's also, the monkeys will get it.
Right, so that means the unseen result, some grace, in addition to, I don't even know whether, yeah, but some grace will come, right? So that means this is what we call coming. So now here it is said, Nana Prasada, Prasadena. What it means, that this knowledge that you get is coming from where, is what? Is coming from Ishvara. And when will it come? Vishuddha Sattva. When you have what, taken the initiative to what, straighten out your thought process. Otherwise, it will not come. And this jnana itself has what we call 3 processes. What are the processes? I'm sure all of you have heard of it.
Listening.
Shravana, Manana. This is what we call a jnana nididhyasana. Okay. Shravanam is very often it's translated as listening. So if listening was Shravanam, then you listen to radio.
Actually hearing.
Hearing. Okay. So what here, it's a slightly technical term. What it means is what we call Tatparya Nishchaya. What it means is, yes, you are hearing what Vedanta is saying, but why you are hearing what, you are also trying to ascertain what exactly is the intention of these Upanishads. What are they trying to tell me? Are they trying to tell me that I have to experience Atma, or are they trying to tell me it's something which is behind all my experiences? So this is how, I think I like this, the method that Andre was talking about. It's good to kind of, ask yourself, what exactly is this trying to tell me, right? This is a good way to figure out, and all the scholars did it too. What exactly, they spent hours and hours and hours determining what these Upanishads are talking about. Okay, so this is what we call not just listening for the sake of listening, but trying to really find out what it has to say. Yeah, then Manana. Suppose you understand that yeah, Upanishads want to say that I am the whole, and you feel like a whole. So now, what you need to do is, what you need to kind of figure out that, okay, now between what the vision of Vedanta is and how I think about myself, there is a big gap. So that means, what are my conclusions, what are my doubts, and what is it that I think of myself, and if it doesn't correspond to how Upanishads think about me, then, what are these doubts? What are my doubts? And then you first need to identify what your doubts are. And then you need to seek clarification. So this is why Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita both are dialogues. If you want to, you see, every Upanishad, and the characters may change, but one thing remains the same, and that it's a dialogue. Right? Because it requires certain clarifications. It's not possible for you to just understand like that. So that is what we call removing those doubts. Suppose you yourself don't have, this is why everybody comes and tells me, they come and give me individual feedback, that, and Anya gave that feedback the other day, that people's questions help a lot. Because you yourself may not have that doubt, but when somebody expresses their doubt, what happens? It also becomes your doubt. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Right? So what does it mean? That raising of doubts is important in learning. Don't be shy of asking questions. But think about something. Don't just ask some random questions and then, that is. But just think about certain things and ask relevant questions. They are very important. Okay? This is what we call manana. What is nididhyasanam? What you do in Surya's morning classes, morning meditation classes. So what is the difference between meditation and nididhyasanam?
You contemplate?
Exactly. In nididhyasanam, you contemplate. So you see how what we have learned in the class, Surya puts it in his own words. Right? And that is giving you a certain clue as to when you go home, how you can contemplate on what you have learned. Okay? It's an active process. Generally people think meditation is what? No thoughts. Right? Or to keep quiet. People think meditation is like that, but actually meditation is initially preparing the mind. What he does initially is what? He asks you to focus on your body, which will calm you down. He asks you to focus on your breath, which will also calm your mind. Then he asks you to do japa. What is the purpose of japa? Focus. Right? So that means, because here long hours of focus is required. Right? The stories within, logics within logics within logics within logics, and so many different connections. So that means the mind needs to focus. If it is not able to concentrate, it's impossible. Right? So this is why one needs to increase one, and japa is a method through which, if the thought goes away from the chant, what do? You bring it back. Right? That's a way to increase. It's not like it's given and what can I do? You can do something to improve your focus. Yeah? So this is that is what we call meditation. Then it becomes contemplation. So once you have a focused mind, then you can use that focused mind to bring back what you have studied, and you can think about it. Okay? And in this thinking about also, as you have seen, Surya one day will talk about what? The nature of consciousness. One day he'll talk about Ishvara. One day he will talk about our emotional burdens. And so it has different aspects. Right? So that is what all the contemplation doesn't mean only technical things. You need to even heal yourself at a very deep level with bringing Ishvara in your life. So that is also called, that's also part of contemplation. Okay? So this is what, then these processes, when they are completely intact, what happens is, as a result of all these efforts that you have made to clean up your mind, and also this done intelligently, what the words are saying and what you understand, there is what? Alignment. And this is why I paid so much emphasis on what? Using the understanding what the words are, connecting them accurately. This is all part of this whole learning. Yeah. So this is what it says, Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha tattu tam pashyate vishvalam dhyayamanaha. Okay, so that means that this person sees what Atma, then what free from any attribute. Now again, look at the verb pashyate, sees. Right? So now, why? Now you will say again, you told me in that other verse it is adrishya, it cannot be seen. Now you tell me what the person sees. So now what does it mean? Understanding clearly. See, among all the senses, when you say I, what the sight is what, when you see it, sometimes people say, when I see it, I'll believe it. That means the seeing is the final proof of something. Once you have seen it, it's clear. So that means this understanding, which is as clear as seeing something, right? It's not that I see Atma, no. But it is so clear, once you have seen it, then you can say, yeah, I'm sure now. This pashyati is not tentative pashyati. Oh yeah, I see it, but then tomorrow I have yet another doubt. Not like that, right? So that means you see it clearly, once and for all. Yeah? So this is what it says. Now, the next two verses we will see tomorrow. So, it's 2 minutes. If you have any questions, please ask me. Yeah, please. Just 1 second, let me get some water.
Just for the word prasad, is it also an attitude?
Yes, absolutely.
So what
it's
attitude. If I go into the shop and buy the sugar,
yes,
it's not because I'm so great that I have the money to buy it, but because there are several factors that had to work together to make it possible to go in the shop. And so also
wonderful.
when I go into the shop,
Excellent.
it's prasad, isn't it?
Excellent. Excellent, Anya. Very good. Okay? What she is saying is, you have to convert your whole life, because now you understand something different. Before you thought that Ishvara was only in the temple. Right? Now you know what it's everywhere. So that means what when we say offering to Ishvara, what does it mean? That let your actions be offered to Ishvara. It's not like Ishvara as an uncle is waiting for some offering, right? So that means offer your action to Ishvara is take into account the manifestation of Ishvara as dharma when you perform your actions. So your whole life becomes prayerful. When you go to a shop and suppose you don't forget to say thank you, right? Then I have the ability to buy some good products, bio products, right? Bio. Bio in French, right? In Germany, what do you say? Bio. Because they are expensive. So right? So that means you show certain gratitude. Right? Then when the cashier is coming, instead of just mechanically doing this, just look into her eyes and say thank you. Right? These are all, you convert your whole life. Small, small, small attitudes makes the transformation. Right? So it's a wonderful point, Anya. We are not only talking about that Jnana is a prasada from Ishvara. When you begin to see all that is here is Ishvara. Yeah? So therefore, that is that whole human transformation. And this is why, as I told you 2 or 3 classes earlier, suppose you tell yourself the world is mithya, or you tell it's an illusion, or you say it's Ishvara, it will make all the difference. It will make all the difference in the world. How you live, what kind of attitudes, how you relate to people. So therefore, the whole life has to be converted into gratitude. So a certain way in which Swamiji used to say this. Very nice what you said. So the way Swamiji said it is that, you know, how do you know that you are bringing Ishvara in your life? Right? More and more awareness of Ishvara in your life. And he used to say that these three things definitely will happen. From feeling of isolation to connection. Let go for start. Connection. And why connection? Because you are already connected. It's just a matter of seeing it, right? It's not you're some great person because you see connection. It's already there, right? You're just becoming sensitive to it. Yeah? From this satisfaction, to gratitude. Right? For small things, if I can begin to have certain gratitude, right? So many privileges I'm given, so many opportunities I'm given. If few things don't work for me, I only want, my mind goes only in things that don't work, and I complain. And I keep on holding it, and I keep on building bigger and bigger and bigger stories. And then I'm caught in that. From this, I seem like this victim of circumstances. And you need to change this attitude. How will you change this attitude? By beginning to see how many things are working for you. Swamiji used to say, the very fact that you can open your eyes and see itself is a miracle. Right? One day, I have a friend whose retina is, I don't know what, something because of diabetes. Over a period of time, I think your retina is damaged or whatever. And she has to take some, I don't know, 5 or 10 injections every few days in order not to lose sight. And this is where she said, now I understand what the importance of sight. Why we have it? We don't even sit and think about it. Did we ever? This is why these Vedic rituals and Vedic prayers is everything that is given to you, you don't take it for granted. Don't forget every morning to thank the sun. It's not that the sun will stop shining if you don't thank, right? But it's your change. You, from this satisfied you who is always complaining about something or the other, you have to see how much is given to you. The waters, the food, and how many people are working to make it happen. And the forces are included. Right? This is why we pray, Kale Varshatu Parjanya. The rains participate, right? Now in Berlin, they told me that for 3 months there was no rain. So therefore, now on one hand, these sunny skies are beautiful, but on the other hand, that it also has its own, right? So that means, but not too much rain is also a problem, right? So therefore, the right rain at the right time and all. So that you want all these forces which are already working, and you have to begin to see so many things are possible because of the working of these forces. So therefore, this mind has to cultivate these attitudes of gratitude. And one day, you become this person who never loses sight of Ishvara. Yeah? So that is very nice. And the third thing he said is, you move from being a consumer to a contributor. This is what we call bringing Ishvara in your life, practically. Right? The natural tendency is what, let me protect my interest. right? And the God, and then, okay, people, who cares, right? So that means that I can go and actively think about somebody else's well-being. I'm a noble human being. Really. And in fact, the feedback mechanisms are such. Where does punya come from? You needed a lot of punya to be here, by the way. Right? Where did that come from? From the air dropped by Ishvara? Punya. Punya is a result of what? Action. What kind of actions? Dharmic, good actions. Extending, reaching out. This is why you can't use Vedanta as, oh, everybody is there, whatever they are going through is because of their karma. Why should I bother about them? Right? That, how many people have helped you in your life without their help? Starting from your mom and dad. They didn't tell, he has come because of his karma, let him do. They contributed, they spent all nights because you didn't sleep. Wake up. How many times Matthias goes to look after his kids? He goes all the way to Berlin and he comes back. He goes to Berlin, he comes back. Do we say, you've come because of your karma, your prarabdha karma, and now you do what you have to do? Right? This is human heart. And the person who has not received love in childhood, the person who felt left out, suffers for rest of their life. This loneliness, feeling of not being cared, not being loved, not all these lacks just manifest and surface. A lifetime goes in repairing it, the hurt and the wounds. So therefore, this is something, being a contributor, you don't use, again, so many things which are beautiful in this teaching, don't use it in some other way, because you destroy people's lives, really. And you also don't do yourself any favor. So therefore, being the contributor, reaching out, as we saw Loka Sangraha, is really that expansion. All that is here is Ishvara. We are all interconnected. We are all interrelated, as we saw in the story of forged coupon. Where is this little boy and where is this man? Where it seems as though there is no connection between the two. There are so many intricate connections. And I'm so happy when I asked who was responsible. Most of you replied, what did you reply? Everyone. All, each and everyone. Each and everyone could have stopped it. Father could have been different. The son could have also then, I think, thought about something else. The shopkeeper could have had a different response. The peasant could have been more careful. The bartender could have had a different response. So that means each of us receive from somewhere and then what? Pass it on somewhere. And we all can stop it at one point. That's why if one human being changes, how many things change in this world? It has multiplying effect. Don't think only that person changes. How many that person goes home, behaves differently, and then how many people change? The family changes. The family members grow up and interact with the world. Then how many people change? How many people are impacted by it? You don't know. And this is how, the minute you begin to do what you need to do, the minute you begin to expand and reach out, there is a multiplying effect. And through that is what is the reward for that? Your own well-being. Wonderful system. You gain punya, you have come more and more comfortable life. You have what? More and better mind, clearer and clear, better emotions. All that is a reward. Better and better circumstances. These are rewards. Right? So this is why this whole life one has to bring Ishvara in one's life. And not just what happens, the sugar in the temple. Wonderful, Anya. Now, time is up. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.